Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're having a great day, and I'm back. I'm sorry for being inconsistent. I'm gonna try to be more consistent, but I don't know. I've just not been good with uploading videos. But thank you to anyone who watches, supports me. I've gotten some new subscribers. I appreciate the support. So yeah, thank you. But I wanted to talk about all-time rankings and all-time lists today. The good things about them and the not so good things about them, or just personal problems that I have with them. So I will start with the good. It will be a little shorter. So one good thing about all-time lists is that it just invites debate, hopefully healthy debate, and not just people screaming, "Yeah, Jordan's 6-0, LeBron's 4-6." Hopefully nothing like that, but it invites debate. And it invites, disagreement, which is good. It's healthy to disagree with people. If everybody agreed, then everything would be boring. Like, people wouldn't be making YouTube videos, giving their opinions, because everyone would agree, and that's just not ideal. So it's good to just be able to rank players and have other people agree, disagree, slightly disagree. Whatever the case, I do think that is good. Another good thing is there's no set criteria. Everybody can do their lists how they want to do their lists, or how they see fit to rank these players. And that is good. I will get into the flip side of that in a little bit, but it is good that your list is your list. I mean, whatever it is, it's fine. It's your list. You can rank these guys based on whatever criteria you want, and that's completely okay. Like I said, I will get into the flip side in a minute of no set criteria, because I do think there are downfalls to this. But yeah, that's definitely another one. No set criteria. Make your list however you want to make your list. Another good thing about all-time rankings lists is it's just fun, and it's a pretty good exercise, I would say, to kind of just compare the players, dig deeper into their careers. It's just fun, but it also, like I just said, is a good exercise to kind of get yourself thinking, get yourself maybe looking at angles that you normally wouldn't look at, things like that. I've thought about different things for different players when it came to trying to make a list or trying to rank them or making these videos. I've thought about these players a lot differently than I used to. So I think that is a good thing. When you're making rankings, you might just consider different areas of their game that you didn't before. And I do think that's good. And like I said, it is fun. It's just fun to rank the players and just see who you think's better based on your personal criteria. It's just a fun exercise, and that's just another reason why I do think all-time rankings are good. Now, the first kind of problem I have with all-time lists is the flip side of no set criteria. Like I said, it is a good thing. It's your list. You can do it however you want. But at the same time, people will share their all-time lists, and someone will say, "Oh, you have so-and-so at number 5, like how could you have him here, blah blah blah." And their list might be based purely on their stats, just individual performance, maybe just how skilled they are. And the person who shared their list might just base it more on maybe intangible things, I guess is the word. They don't really care too much about stats, or maybe they care more about championships. It could be anything. You could rank it based on just greatness and, who the player was and the intangible things, or you could rank it on stats, individual play. You could rank it on how skilled they were. You could rank it just purely based on championships or MVPs. Like, you could do anything. And while that is good, like I said, because it's your list and you can do whatever the hell you want, it's also not good because you're just having pointless arguments. Like, if I'm arguing with somebody about their all-time list and their criteria is completely different, then what's the point? I mean, like, we're not even on the same page here. And if we wanted to both share our lists based on the same criteria, say theirs was based on stats and individual performance, and mine was just kind of more who I consider great or whatever. If we both did it based on stats and individual performance and made our lists based on that criteria, then we could have a more constructive discussion about it. But if you're not on the same page, you don't have the same criteria, there's like no point in arguing, because you're going to have completely different lists because you're valuing completely different things, which is fine. It's great, like I said, but when it comes to like discussing the lists and comparing them, there's really no point if you don't have the same criteria. Another problem I have with all-time lists is that the players all play different positions. They all have different roles on the team. Someone like Tim Duncan, everyone, says, oh, his offense is not that good, blah, blah, blah. Well, that wasn't his role to be. It was to be the, main offensive guy, but it was much more spread out, and it wasn't like he was needed to score 28 plus points per game. And, he's a good offensive player, but obviously he's not as good as someone like Jordan or LeBron or whoever. So he had a different role, and also positions. Like, it's hard to compare players straight up like Magic Johnson and, Shaq. Like, one plays point guard, one plays center. They do completely different things on the court. Their roles are completely different. And it's just like there's no point to compare these guys. And I tried to do a thing where, I compare players. I rate their scoring. I rate their rebounding, playmaking, defense, all that stuff. But I was like, you know what? There's no point to doing this, because once I get to, I don't know, maybe I would go like Steph Curry against Kevin Garnett or something. Or, have the same criteria like rebounding, defense. It's like, well, obviously Garnett or anybody taller than Steph Curry is probably going to be a better rebounder than him. And defense, I mean, bad example with Curry, but, say it was like Gary Payton and Kevin Garnett. They're both great defenders, but they do different things. Like, Kevin Garnett's obviously going to get more blocks, and Gary Payton's going to get more steals. And it comes down to what you value. Once again, the criteria. It kind of will turn into a pointless argument. It's just too much variation when it comes to the players' roles, their positions, and like I said, even things like defense, which, across the positions, yes, they can all be good defenders if that's in their game. But even then, it's like, well, one might be a rim protector because they're tall. The other one might be a point guard or shooting guard, and they can't protect the rim as well. So it's like, there's, again, no real set criteria to compare the players. So, it's fine to go and see what you value. Again, I think that's a good thing. But when they play different positions, they have different roles. It's really hard to compare the players. You would really have to do it based on their position. And even then, there's still variation in how they play. So it's just, there's so much variation with the players. Certainly any position could have a huge impact on the team. Maybe you want to just see, who made the biggest impact, because either, any position can have a huge impact. I could see that, but a lot of other things, it's really hard to compare unless you're doing it between two guys who have the same role, same position, all that stuff. So that's just another issue I have with the list. The last point I want to make about the all-time rankings, could make a bunch more, or talk about more problems that I have, but it's eras. I mean, we can't ignore that players played in different eras. When I make a list, I try to just look at what the player did in their era and just leave it at that. Not compare the eras they played in. Just look what they did whether they played in the 60s or the 2000s or the 2020s. Just look what they did in their career and leave it at that. I won't say, oh, well, this player played in the 60s. So, no, like, I will just look at, assuming they're all on a level playing field. Is that the best way to go about it? I don't know, but it's just too complicated to look at the eras. I mean, basketball today is so much different from basketball in the 80s, 70s. Like, it's not even close. Like, it's just dumb to compare the eras. And even the players, it's just so impossible. Same goes for really any sport. I mean, all the sports evolve to where they are today, where they're just completely different from where they were 40 years ago or 30 years ago. So different. It's hard to compare, especially for basketball. It's so hard to compare. Like I said, I try to just look at, okay, what did Bill Russell do in his career? Okay, that's what I'm just going to look at. I'm not going to take into consideration the era. Again, maybe I should, but that's just, I can't compare them. I cannot. There literally is no three-point line in the 60s, 70s. So you can't compare that. Not that, Bill Russell or Will would shoot threes, but you can't compare that. That's literally the biggest part of the game today was not in the game for several decades. So it's so hard to compare eras and players from different eras. Again, you could really try to break it down, but it's just not really the way to go about it because they're just so different. And if you wanted to do a list just based on their stats and their accomplishments, like in a vacuum, yeah, you could do that. Again, it would have to just be in a vacuum. It's so hard to compare the eras. I keep saying that, but it just is. Like, it's ridiculous how different they are, even just decade to decade. I mean, you forget in the early 2010s, I mean, the game was completely different than where it is now, or even at the late 2010s. So, it's just changing constantly. The players are changing their roles. Who knows what players who played in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s would do today. They might completely change their game. So we don't know. We can just look at what they did, how they looked, if that's your criteria, in the era they played, and just leave it at that. During their career, what did they do? No eras, none of that. That's how I would do it. Again, you could do it differently, but that's another problem that I have with all-time rankings lists. Let me know your guys' thoughts. This was kind of a lot to unpack. I've had a lot of thoughts about this topic, and I'm kind of just spitballing them out there. So I apologize if I was rambling or anything. Same for any other video. I probably ramble a lot, but let me know your opinions. What are your criterias for all-time lists? I would love to know. I will maybe make a video on my all-time list, but it's changing constantly. That's another personal problem. And I just don't know, like, if I should put one out because everyone has different criterias. And like I said, it just gets pointless to talk to people about it when their criteria is so different. But let me know what your criteria is. Maybe let me know what your top 10 is. It's a fun thing, like I said, and I'd be interested to see. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.